Well, good evening, everyone. We are live. I'm bringing up our next speaker or our first speaker for this series of speakers that we're going to be introducing you to for the I Am Wealth Symposium. And of course, I am your host, Shatika Husser, and we are excited that we are going to be having this symposium on March the 25th. That's a Saturday. That is the last Saturday of Woman History Month. And so we're going to have some dynamic speakers. If you have not already seen our last interview with myself, and Katrina, definitely go check that out. I kind of give a little spiel about what you can expect. But this next or first speaker that I'm going to interview tonight, I didn't really talk about too much during that time, so I'm happy to bring her on as the first guest speaker that we're going to interview. Her name is Leona Zanders Drayton. Let's look at what I have over here. And so I'm going to bring her up. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you.
Awesome, awesome, awesome. I see you. I see you. And then, okay. So, Leona, thank you so much for agreeing to be with us and everything. We want to definitely shout you out tonight and really just let the people know, who you are and why they need to come and hear you speak. So, of course, I have your bio here. You said that your name is Leona Zanders Drake, and then you're a Charleston native, and you are a minority business owner who refused to be a statistic, that you are the mother of 5 boys, 11 and to 24, ages 11 to 24. Excuse my eyes. I began my career in the medical industry as a medical laboratory scientist and later ventured into entrepreneurship. And the owner of a tax firm called Master Tax Advisors in Goose Creek, South Carolina, co-owner with my husband of a trucking company called Master Trucking. I began my journey with taxes in 2015 and became an enrolled agent.
Yes.
All right. So I want to say that you have done a lot in a short amount of time. You look to be super, super young. This is off the script, so to speak. So we are just having a conversation, getting to let the people know you. We're not going to be long, everybody. We won't be strong. All right. So I'm going to let her talk a little bit, and we're just going to kind of see who she is and why it is that you need to come and listen to Leona at this I Am Well Symposium. And I'm going to go ahead and put that banner at the bottom so that you can see that. But, tell us, Leona, that's your bio, but, you did a lot in a short amount of time, look like. You're a
I
business
did.
owner. How did
Yes.
you do it? And with so many children, like some people, they get crazy. They're just single, don't even have any children. How
Yeah.
do you do that? Can you just answer that question real quick before we jump right into the interview? I know
Crying
everybody's probably
and
dying to know.
praying. Crying and praying.
Crying
I
and praying.
cried and I prayed my way through it. and,
Well,
and God helped me got through it. I was young. I was a teen mom.
okay.
Like I said, 5 boys. And I just made it a goal that I wanted, of course, to give them a better life than I had. So I went all in, got my degree, started working in the medical field. And from there, I just knew I just had that hustle mentality and I knew I wanted more. So I just kept going and going until I
Understood.
was able to accomplish being an entrepreneur.
Yeah, and that happens to a lot of people. So you were inspired and you're by your why. So your why is your children. And of course you
Yeah.
got hungry because you knew that, listen, I'm gonna be mom, I'm a Proverbs 31 woman, I'm gonna make this thing happen. And so you went all in. And so definitely, excuse me, a role model in that because you have, quite a few and you were able to accomplish quite a bit in the fact that you have two different businesses right now. All
Yes.
right. And you're a wife. Okay. So I'll ask you your first question. Why do you feel like poverty exists? So we see that you got it out the mud. You went and you went after it. Not saying that you were in poverty before, but you were definitely a young teenage mom to your point.
Yes.
So you had a mindset for one,
Yes.
okay? But tell me, why does poverty still exist? Because you being a tax professional, you probably see a lot of clients, right? And so there's some things that maybe some trends that you could share about why people are definitely living in poverty.
I think it's because of lack of education, lack of knowledge. I did grow up in poverty, and a lot of the things that I learned, I had to learn on my own. So just me having that extra drive, I guess God given drive to just want to do more, got out on my own at 18 years old and decided that I was actually living on low income housing and just decided that I was going to use that opportunity why I didn't have to worry about rent and high bills to go ahead and go back to school. And so I was able to do that, living on low income housing and going to school, being able to get assistance to help me pay for childcare for my kids. And I actually just had to pick up the phone, look in the phone book at the time, make phone calls, and find out where I could get to help to do these things. And the resources were out there. So, but hadn't I, taken that time to actually do the research, I would have never known. So I just had to do the research, get connected with the right people. And so it's like when you know better, you do better. So it's really just lack of knowledge. I think the more that we can educate people
Yes.
where we came from and let them know that resources are out there. And I tell young girls all the time that, you can go to school, and certain schools in this area will actually pay some of your childcare for you because you're in school, and people don't know those things.
Right, right. Well, that's key. So you said a whole mouthful there, and you said something that I often say. Our biggest expense is not necessarily what you're paying in taxes, which is you're the tax professional. Our biggest expense is ignorance.
Yes,
Not knowing how to maneuver and position our finances properly so that we can. And so education and what is something that you went and got, right, and which most people need to do. And that's the reason why there's a huge amount of poverty, because even people that make a lot of money, make six to seven figures, they're still not where they need to be, and as you well know, because the cash flow is not there. The more
correct.
money they make, the more they spend.
Yes,
So there's a poverty mindset because you don't even know how to increase your cash flow above your expenses. So tell me, how is tax planning and building wealth related? How can you relate the two?
because with tax planning, especially for small business owners that are starting out, you have to change your mindset from being a W-2 employer where they pay half your taxes for you to actually realizing that you're responsible for paying all those taxes yourself. So even a startup company is going to want to prepare and do tax planning so that when they do get to the point of having to pay taxes, they're prepared for it. They've actually put the percent away that they should be putting away to pay the taxes. And when they get to that point where they have a large tax liability, where tax planning comes in, is okay, here are some things that we can do. Here are some strategies that we can incorporate into your business where you don't have to pay the IRS all of this money, and you can actually use this money, shift it other places to be able to build wealth. Because it's not pay the IRS and then spend, because that's where taxation comes in. When you make all this money and you spend, now you're going to get taxed because you're spending. But if you can make the money, find other places to put it, to whether it's retirement, insurance, life insurance, just different places to put it to where you can either defer the taxes or try to minimize how many taxes you pay. And certain things that you put it in investments accounts will allow you to grow interest, which will allow you to grow wealth.
I love it. You're right, spot on. The taxes is the tax code is not written for the W-2 employee. It's not friendly at all. Robert Kiyosaki wrote about it in Rich Dad Poor Dad in the cash flow quadrant, and he said that 95% of people are on the wrong side of money. Only 5% of people on the right side of money, because they're, to your point, a business owner or an investor. And capital gains, you can just keep deferring that and never have to pay that, right? So they know how to get around that. And we're going to get into all that. But does it matter who I select as a tax professional? Like, and won't they all get the same results?
No, it does matter who you select as a tax professional. Now,
Okay.
sometimes with just a W-2, standard W-2, some people can do it themselves, and most tax professionals know how to do standard W-2. But when you have a business, there's certain things that you want to do, and it's always going to be a it depends answer, because every situation is unique to the person. But when you have a business, there's a different level of education that is needed to know which deductions you can take legally without worrying about the IRS coming in, auditing you, and saying, no, this income is going to be recharacterized, and you now have to pay taxes along with penalties and interest. So it does matter that you get someone who's educated, knows how to save you legally, implement the right strategies, make sure that your business is set up the correct way so that you're keeping the right documents, so that if the IRS does knock on your door and you do have an audit, you can pull out all your paperwork and show them, this is why I took the deductions that I took, and they will take their time and go through it. And if you're prepared, usually they'll say, okay.
Right, right. Well, you said a whole lot, and I'm gonna tag onto something you said later on. But how can I estimate the amount of taxes that I will need to pay for the year?
So generally, it's best to probably pay quarterly. And if you're a new business starting out, it's hard to estimate what you should pay in taxes. So I always say generally take about 20 to 30% of what your profits are. So after you've gross, keep track of your gross income, take all your deductions and whatever your net income is, take about 20 to 30% of that and make your quarterly payments. And what will happen when you make those quarterly payments, if you overpay because you're just estimating. So if you overpay when you go to file your taxes, you'll file that you made those payments, and based off any credits or other deductions that you may get, you'll get a refund.
Right. You say a lot about deductions, and that's what I want to kind of harp on a little. So before COVID, I was told that there's like 475 deductions, and after it was like 675 or more. There's so many deductions. Can you kind of harp on that just a little bit? Because to your point and our point earlier, W-2 versus, someone that has their own business, all these deductions that you can take.
Yes.
Yeah.
So deductions are going to be anything that's necessary or ordinary for your business. So necessary meaning the tools, supplies, and materials that you absolutely need to be able to do your business. Ordinary, you may not need them to do your business, but it's common practice, like advertising. That's a big one. Advertising and marketing is not required to do your business, but it is an ordinary expense that if you did it, it can help you have production, help you get more income. So those are deductions that you can take. So I have there's a long list of different deductions. So pretty much anything that you use that's a business that's going to help grow your business and you need it for your business is going to be a deduction.
Right. And that list is super important because I know that I think that kind of separates you from the rest is that you have that list and and maybe other tax professionals. There's a difference between tax preparers and tax advisors.
Correct.
And I know, listen, this is completely off the cuff, everyone. These are not questions that she gave me. I'm just asking her because I want her to expound on that just a little bit because you need to know her knowledge level so that you can know what you're going to receive in terms of a presentation when you come to the imwellsymposium.com. So if you haven't already registered, I don't know what you're waiting for because this young lady here has been doing this for quite some time. And the lady that sent me to her to have her to be on this speaker panel is a multi-millionaire, right? So anyway, we want to make sure that we understand, how to build wealth the proper way with a proper foundation. And we need somebody that knows how to do money and know how to position it properly. So tell us, tell us what I was just asking you.
So a tax preparer is pretty much reactive. That's keeping you in compliance. So
Mm-hmm.
that means you work all year long, you run your business all year long. Now it's past December 31st. It's time to file your taxes. You file your taxes, and whatever they say you owe, you owe. You pay it and you keep on going. Tax tax advisor is someone that you're going to work with all year, not just one time out of the year. And it's being proactive. So it's putting those things into place. It's evaluating your business. It's doing quarterly projections, seeing how much money you're bringing in. What can we do to change this so that we can reduce how much taxes you're going to pay? Letting you know, okay, in April, this is where you are. And as of now, this is how much taxes you're going to owe. Let's see what we can do to implement into your business, whether it's change your entity structure, change how you're being taxed, bring in, there's certain things you can do depending on your entity structure. Hire your kids. You do things like you pay for their cost of living anyways. So now
Right.
let's bring your kids on, and what can we do to be able to pay them and have them pay taxes, give them that responsibility, and have them use their money for their normal cost of living. So just different plans that you can bring in that will help you reduce your taxes, but you want to do it all year and not wait until December 31st and say, okay,
Right.
now I'm going to get it together and I want you to help me save because now it's too late.
Oh my gosh, stop stepping on toes over here. Listen, it makes a big difference who's preparing our taxes and who's advising us on taxes because I literally, to your point, I went from paying taxes to actually receiving five figures back. There's a big difference. And if
Yes,
the wrong person is doing it, it's a significant change, right? Like that's money I could have been investing had I had the right person. And so
correct.
I think a lot of people sleep on that, right? Like, oh, taxes, they don't really understand and they don't really understand the impact over years how much money they could have put away for retirement. That
Yes.
could have been income that was coming to them.
Yes.
So I just don't know, when you come to the IML Symposium, we really need to make sure that point is driven home, just how important taxes are. I think people don't understand that that's their biggest expense
Yes.
outside of their mortgage and all that is really those taxes. And I can't speak to that enough. Is anything you want to say on that before we move to our next question?
Just to piggyback off of what you were saying,
Yeah.
it is something that I think people are fearful of it, but you have to do it, but it's not right there, and there's no one like with your W-2s
Yeah.
taking it out for you, so you kind of push it to the back and worry about it later. But it gets reported to the IRS, and whether it happens this year, 3 years from now, or 10 years from now, they're going to send those letters and they want those taxes to be paid. So it's best to not be fearful of it, but to actually find the right tax advisor and just figure out ways that you can attack it head on and prepare yourself for it.
So a couple quick questions that came out of that response. How long should a person go without paying their taxes or not preparing taxes? Can they go as much as how many years?
Well, the way it works is you should do it each year. But there's a statutory of limitation of 10 years that if you don't pay your taxes after 10 years, then the debt begins to fall off. But what happens is if you don't ever file the taxes, then there are no taxes assessed. So there's no clock to start that statutory of limitation. Sometimes the IRS will step in and file a tax return for you, and that would start the clock. But if the IRS doesn't ever step in and file a tax return for you, then it could be years later. You're thinking that, okay, the 10 years has passed. So, woo, I don't have to worry about that tax debt anymore. But it was never filed and they never assessed it. So, the clock starts when the tax is actually assessed. So, sometimes it's better to file than not to file, because at least if you file and you owe, the clock has started, and you may procrastinate and you may not pay, but the clock has started and it's ticking and it's ticking. And if 10 years goes by and the IRS doesn't collect that debt from you in some other way through garnishment, then now that debt has to fall off. So at least file to start the clock.
Understood. That is very well said. I've never heard that. So, how long should a person keep their actual tax paperwork?
Usually about 3 years. I
Okay.
usually keep them for about 7 years.
Okay.
And I actually do electronic copies now, and I have a portal where my clients can get access to the portal. So as long as they have that portal, they have them forever. So I say hold on to them for as long as you can, but typically about 3 years.
All right. So, how do I know when an expense is tax deductible?
Whenever it's business related, and whenever you can prove that it's business related, even sometimes with travel, if the travel purpose is for business, you can take that deduction even if you decide to do vacation while you're traveling for business. The travel portion, as far as your flight, your hotel, if it was a business trip, then it's still deductible. And then you can still take a vacation, and then the extra things that you do, as far as if you do any extracurricular activities, those would not be deductible. So it would just have to be broken down to which portion of the travel was deductible versus which portion was not deductible.
So that's awesome. Listen, we have quite a few questions left, but I'm only going to ask two more questions. I kind of did some off the cuff. So, how does Donald Trump and Amazon pay no taxes?
That's a great question. Donald Trump and Amazon pay no taxes because they hire tax planners and tax advisors that work with them all year. They set up the proper entities. So Donald Trump is separate from his corporation. So he on paper might be worthless versus all the money is in his corporation where he separates himself. So really on paper, when they try to go after Donald Trump has no money. Now, Trump Enterprises has money, and they've done things to invest that money to where it's not taxable.
Awesome. Yeah, you often hear people say what control everything but own nothing on paper.
Correct.
And
Correct.
so, tell me a little bit about taxes and then estate plan. This is the last question. Um,
Okay.
and so, if you can just expound on that and anything else you want to share after that, tell us. What does taxes have to do with estate planning?
Well, one big tax that has to do with estate planning is the capital gain tax.
Mhm.
So if you plan your estate right, then there, especially with when you have assets like your home, that's a major one. And one of the things that people do get, and when they get older in age, is they start to take their assets and put them in their heirs' names while they're still alive, thinking that, okay, I'll put it in their name so that if when I die, it'll already be secured. But the best thing is to do is to put it in a trust. And so that way, when they do pass away, the heirs will inherit it rather, because if you put it in their name while they're living, then it's a gift. If it goes into a trust and they inherit it, then what saves them is that capital gain tax. And so just to give you a little bit of background, what happens is, say for instance, your parents bought a house at $60,000 many years ago, and they put it in your name, and now the house is worth $300,000. Well, if they put it in your name while they're still living, then your basis in the house is the 60,000 that they paid for it. So if you sell the house for 300,000, you now have $240,000 worth of capital gains that you have to pay. But with the estate planning, if they put it in a trust and you inherit it at the fair market value of $300,000. You can now sell that house for $300,000 and pay no capital gain tax.
Awesome. Hey, listen, you are definitely a wealth of knowledge. If someone's on the fence and they're like, man, I don't know if I want to go, if I should go, what would you tell them to consider about this I Am Wealth Symposium?
I would say definitely go, because knowing is everything. Getting the education from all the speakers that are going to be there is going to, even if you don't know what to do with it, at least it plants a seed. So now you know that those things are out there. Now you know that, okay, there's so much more that I can do as a business owner to save on taxes. I don't have to pay what they tell me to pay at the end of the year if I plan correctly. So just planting that seed, knowing that there's other things that you can do to save on taxes and to build wealth. So just having that seed planted, I think, is a major important thing.
And one thing I'm excited about with you is that I know that you're going to be bringing them some action items that they need to do. So they're not just going to come and listen to you do a lecture, so to speak. Anything you want to expound on that or not right now?
Because I can. Okay. One of the major things that I always say, especially with all business owners, is bookkeeping. Yes. So I really will be talking about the importance of bookkeeping and being able to track all of your income and all of your expenses, penny for penny. And because what happens is, it's not just important for knowing your bottom line, making sure you take all of your deductions and you pay the taxes on only what you need to pay taxes on, but it's also important when you want to get loans and business credit. So when you're able to have that bookkeeping and the bank asks you for your profit and loss statement, your balance sheet, you're able to go and click a button, print those reports and take it to them. And they're saying, okay, this person is financially stable, they're savvy, they're in order, everything looks good, and you're more likely to get business loans.
And see, listen, you need to be there because she's going to be sharing with you all types of strategies, best practices, some easy tips, some ways that you can do, business a whole lot more efficient. I know some of y'all on the struggle bus. Maybe you haven't even started your business yet, but you need to start it on the right foot. You need to start it on a good, solid foundation as it relates to bookkeeping. And let me tell you, that's one of the most fundamental areas that a lot of business owners fail at, and unfortunately that's why their business folds, because they don't have good bookkeeping. They don't know what they have coming in, what they have going out, kind of like how your bank account is, right? Your personal bank account. I like to tell people, how you do one thing is how you do everything. If you're not organizing your personal finances, you're probably going to have some challenges as an actual business owner. Am I right, Leona?
That's correct.
And so I know you're going to be sharing some tips and strategies on how they can do that a whole lot more efficiently when they come, so that, listen, you're going to help them have an easier business owner lifestyle, right? Because of what it is that you're going to be sharing. So you need to be in the building so that you can hear her. And so, Leona, if they wanted to reach out to you outside of that, you wanted to share your information real quick.
Yes, I can be reached on Facebook as Leona Drayton. Instagram, I am the Enrolled Agent Lady. And my telephone number, I have my cell phone, my office number, I don't even know it by heart. But my cell phone number is 843-323-7438. And my office is located in Goose Creek, South Carolina.
Listen, you're going to have a hard time getting this young lady. and she is speaking for me and I can't get her. So you want to be in the building and show your face, all right? Make that connection, network with her. So don't just try to reach out because you're gonna have a hard time catching her. I'm gonna tell you that right now.
Yeah.
Okay. So come to the event and meet her face to face. Let her know who you are and who it is and how it is that you would like to partner with her to become more successful as it relates to your taxes as a business owner, or even a person. You do personal finance, personal taxes, right? Or just
I do.
business.
Yes, I do
Okay.
business and personal taxes.
Okay. Perfect. Perfect. So come out and meet Leona Drayton and yeah, Sanders Drayton, and she's going to get you right. So thank you, Leona, for being with us today. If you haven't already, go to the IamWealthSymposium.com. You're going to be able to go there, see the speaker bios. When you click on it, you can see all of their bios. You'll be able to register as a gold VIP or a diamond VIP or a platinum VIP. We've given you everything that you need to definitely walk away with what you need. So go ahead and do that if you haven't already done that, because seats are going fast and we want you to be able to get one of those seats. Okay. They are limited for VIP. And so if you listening to this, you don't want to hesitate, because most of the sales, they say, come at the very end and we are already almost there. So don't wait and snooze and miss out, because you're going to want to have her information. All right. Thank you so much, Leona. And we're going to see you guys at the top because you belong there. We see you on Saturday, March the 25th. And we have another interview shortly with Shaniqua. So we're going to go ahead and switch over to that. Thank you so
All
much.
right. Thank you. Thank you for
Have an
having me.
amazing day. All right. So Leona, you heard from her. So again, go to IamWealthSymposium.com and register. We will see you there. Can't wait to see you in North Charleston. The actual location is not disclosed because we have a certain amount of seats, and we want to make sure that people don't just pop up. And I've had some personal situations where I've had events and people just kind of popped up because they knew where it was. And it's not the right thing to do. We like to do things in decency and in order. We don't want to turn anyone away at the door. We want you to have a ticket. So go get your free ticket by going to IamWealthSymposium.com. Thank you. I'm Shatika, your host, and I'm out. I'll see you there.